His husband passed away last Thursday. Mike served the village as the village clerk. He was appointed to the position on October 20th, 2009, to fill a vacancy that was left by Nancy Morton. He was then elected to the position in May of 2011 to serve the 2-year balance of her term. He served until 2013 when Irene Gagerman was elected. So if I can ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right. The approval of the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so requests. In that event, the discussion will be the first item of business after the approval of the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to pull off of the consent agenda? Trustee Trevino?
4B.
The Board of Trustees regular, the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have anything they want to? So the consent agenda will consist of the Board of Trustees public hearing minutes and appropriations ordinance on March 18th, 2026, and the approval of the bills. Do I need a motion? Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda for A and C?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Raff.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
And Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, Trustee Trevino, what do you have on minutes?
On the minutes, the photo contest, the actual dates are from April 1st to May 31st. It had said till April 25th.
Oh,
And then the photos will be shown here the 16th of June, not of April or May, whichever they had down. So it's just fixing those
so
dates.
it's just a date thing. Okay.
And that was it.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the board meeting, the regular board meeting of trustees on March 18th, 2026 with those amendments?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Finance Director's report. Director Vasquez.
Thank you, Trustee Jamerson. I have a few items for tonight's report. The appropriations budget ordinance that the board approved last month was sent to Lake County to meet our filing deadline. Audit field work took place last week. While there are still some items being worked on, they've concluded their on-site work in just 4 days. My first audit here 2 years ago, that on-site work took a full 3 weeks. I think that this reflects the hard work we've done to be better prepared for the audit through our year-end processes. I'd like to thank our new accounting manager, Jimmy Scott, for her efforts with the prep work, despite just being new to the village and starting in mid-December. Finally, I mentioned last month that there was a grant opportunity that I was applying for with a tight deadline. I did hear back that we were not selected. However, I did get an update on the $200,000 DCEO grant for the water fund. It finally progressed past the release process, which it had been stuck in since September. It's my understanding that that step was the longest part of the approval process, so I'm hopeful we can receive the final approval soon and receive the funds during 2026. And that's all I have for my report.
Does anybody have any questions for the rest of Trustee Clayton, please?
The audit company set out questionnaires for the trustees to fill out. Do you know if everybody's responded, or does anybody on the board need a little nudge to get that completed?
I do not know. I know that if the auditors do not receive a response within a certain time frame, that they'll kind of reach out to me and kind of ask if I can see, or they might reach out again themselves. So I haven't heard any feedback from them yet, but we're still relatively early in the process. But if any trustees have not yet responded, this is a good reminder to reach back out to the auditors with your responses.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Our treasurer is not here tonight. Director of Community Services, Director Witt.
Thank you, Trustee Jamerson. So I'd like to do the Saunders report second and give a quick update on the Thorngate soils investigation, of which I think we are making some good progress at this point. About a week ago, we did receive the soils boring report from Anderson Engineering. We have discussed that with the village engineer as well and Steve Anderson of that company. We were somewhat disappointed that the report did not give enough analysis of the soil conditions versus how it actually affects the pipe and the potential for the soils conditions, what could be done and how severe the soils were. So Anderson went back, they revised the report, resubmitted it to us. We just got it this week and we're in the process of going through that revision at this point. GHA is working with me to plot out all the different soil conditions versus the break locations versus the soil boring locations so that we can get a better grip on some connectivity between soil conditions, whether it be the type of soils that are there, whether it's, the lean clay, or we have a lot of areas some areas that have just granular material underneath, trying to evaluate the type of break versus soil conditions, type of break versus the corrosivity of some of the soils. We're working with that. We're doing a lot of research with regard to how other communities have responded to similar conditions. I've got a report in front of me that was done in 2018, 48 states and 7 out of the 10 provinces within Canada responded to questionnaires about failures that they've had. 24,000 breaks were reported. Out of those, only 28% were really done by corrosion to the pipes. However, keeping in mind that only about 28% of those pipes were actually ductile iron like ours are. So there is a lot of correlation. We understand that the soils are corrosive. We're just trying to understand how bad the situation is and trying to determine what our options may be, whether or not we need further testing, or if we feel that what we're coming up with is going to be adequate to be able to present something to the board in the hopefully very near future. Moving on to Saunders Road, I was a little surprised. Today at 1:31, I got a letter or an email from David Herman of IDOT. He has been our contact through this whole process. And he writes to me and to Mark Cobb that from GHA saying that we have been informed by IDOT's central office, and they were handling the paperwork for the bids, that there has been a lot of movement on the projects on hold with low bids from Builders Paving LLC. Central office is now trying to advance awards again. Please advise how the village would like to proceed, and they give us 2 options. 1, continue with the previous bids and see if Builders Paving will accept the award. Builders Paving has the option of declining the award since it has been more than 45 days past the letting date. Option 2 would be for the village to reject the bids and relet the project on an upcoming letting, which we have no clue as to what this time frame would be. My guess would be earliest is probably June, July, which might mean we go back into the same cycle we were before, which may put us to getting the road completed by the end of the year and may not. Last year, because of weather conditions, if they had started on time, they still would not have finished. That was a good thing because the county is doing their reworking of the lift station, and I believe that that project's still on track. So what I'm asking tonight is whether or not the board is comfortable with giving a direction on one of these 2 options, or if we feel we need some additional information, which I don't know what that is at this point. We're trying to evaluate what the bids have looked like within the last 9 months since the letting had actually occurred. At this point, GHA doesn't feel that the numbers are too far off from where they were, what they're seeing now. but we also understand that the current war that we're in the middle of is raising prices on everything. We've had prevailing wages that have gone up. So I guess I need feedback from the board as far as what direction to tell IDOT we want to do. Accept the bids as they are or relet the project.
Does anybody have any comments? Oh, trustee Jamerson? Sorry. My personal opinion is that unless there's something that we know of that's a major problem with builders, that we should see if they will accept the bid that they gave us last year. And if they will, then we should move forward. I think it's going to save us time in reletting the project. And honestly, I don't think the price is going to be any less. We know what the price is. So that's my opinion. But I mean, he's asking for the board's opinion. So there's trustee Clayton,
I agree.
trustee
I agree
Rath.
also with trustee Jamerson.
I would agree, but I think having done a little bit of research into this, I would also want to get some understanding from IDOT because in the Sun Times articles that were explaining all the issues that the communities had, that I guess the court case went against builders, but they also reserved the right to appeal. So where does that stand, right? I mean, I would want to have a sense for what the other broader moving parts to that picture are and sort of what his IDOT determined in terms of the issues that originally prompted this, right? I think that would be my caveat, is to get a little more understanding so that we could be comfortable that this isn't going to be a problem and then move forward. I mean, I agree. I mean, if it's a reasonable, bid that would be accepted, and we shouldn't have to go through all that. The community needs the project done, but I think it would just be good to get an update as to, how it plays into the bigger picture.
Anyone over here?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think trustee Eastman, brings up a really good point about understanding a little bit more about the current litigation, or whether that's the potential of an appeal, to make sure we understand any risks that we could potentially incur.
I'm in agreement.
I agree with you 100%. And that was my comment about what the story was. The question for the village attorney now might be, if it goes to appeal, is the state going to throw a roadblock in our way again, right?
How much time do we have to decide?
They give us no indication on a time frame, and they give us nothing other than those two statements that I read.
If
We
builders
can
risk
vet
declines,
out builders. We have not done that in the past because previously through the letting process, we have no voice in that,
Right.
in that issue. But this coming about today, we've not had an opportunity to even start that.
what does it even mean if builders risk declines to go with the bid that they gave us before? Does that mean that we then default option
We
two?
have to rebid it. We have to go with option 2.
But originally, we didn't do the bidding. The state did the bidding.
The issue at hand might be that if builders decides they don't want to do it at that point, are they going to double down on the lawsuit and just continue with that, which then holds us up forever as well? We don't know that, and they've not given us enough information here in this email to come close to making a decision. So we'll have to explore that with them tomorrow. They may not tell us anything more, though.
I guess what I would say is that if we're going to get more information, there's no apparent deadline. If there were a deadline, we could call a special meeting if we had to, once we had more facts. And if we don't need to do that, we can wait till the next meeting when we have more facts. So
Right.
that's what I would.
We'll report back.
I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else have any questions for Director Witt? Okay, thank you. Attorney's report.
I just want to report on the Verizon situation. I know that their company did some paint sampling. I don't know if we heard the results yet, Steve?
No results yet.
But I also received a markup of the lease back from Verizon. about 10 days ago, and I turned around a red line and sent it back out to them. I think we're down to just, 3 or 4 issues, not very many. I think we're very close. Their legal department took 2 months to get back to me the last time. That's the pace at which they move, but hopefully we'll move more quickly this time.
Any questions for Attorney Labarge? No? Okay, thank you. Police report. Chief Nino.
I just have what's in the packet, the police activity, and then I have something under new business.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? No? Thank you. Plan Commission report. Chairman Breykoff.
Good evening. The only thing I have to report is that the Plan Commission will meet on April 9th to conduct a hearing on the Quick Trip application for rezoning. That's it.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Zoning Board of Appeals did not meet. Fire District.
This is my first time, so
Oh.
I'm here. My name is Eric Lavernier.
Can you give your name for?
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
Eric Lavernier. I'm Deputy Chief, Lincolnshire Riverwoods Fire Protections. Yes, LEV as in Victor, ERNIER. Just a couple things to report. Last Thursday, we had a structure fire off of Cherrywood. I don't know if you guys are familiar. On initial dispatch, we had some conflicting reports of possible invalid. Fire was out within 10 minutes. We had all primaries cleared the building, so everything went well. Nobody was hurt. We ended up having to lay in about 600 feet of large diameter hose from the hydrant.
That was going to be my question.
Yep. So we made it work, but it was a lot of hose to pick up afterwards. Our last Board of Trustee meeting, we recognized a couple of our crews for Life Saving Award. They were called over to an assisted living facility for a person choking. When they got there, Sedgebrook staff, along with Lincolnshire PD, were performing CPR. Our crews took over. They got a pulse back. They started to transport, lost the pulse, and they ended up actually removing some foreign bodies from the patient's throat, which then helped out with respirations and saved her life. And she was discharged the next day. So
excellent.
Just the last couple of things. Year to date, we're at 700 calls. Riverwoods makes up about 14% of those calls, which is about 113 calls. And then March 16th, we hired 1 new employee, and we're still down 7. We just are going through the process. We just offered 7 people jobs, and we're putting them through the backgrounds and all that stuff. So, and the vacancies are due to multiple, 2 injuries, a couple of retirements. So
All firefighters.
Yeah, all firefighter paramedics. Yep. So that's it.
Any questions? Trustee Eastland.
Tough question, and this may not be the right forum for it, but do we have a better sense of going forward, what's going on with the new fire station and the path forward to getting that built?
Yep, great question. So as you know, we were unsuccessful with our first referendum. We just barely missed. We met with our staff, and we just felt like the timing with everything that's going on with the world, we just didn't think that potentially raising people's taxes was the right time as of right now, because there's a lot of uncertainty. So we're just going to really focus on just getting our staffing levels up. We're still on the property. We're still fully committed to the project. We're just trying to figure out the right timing to move forward.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, information items and comments from the president. The only thing that's listed here is a statement of economic interest. The trustees need to make sure those are due by May 4th, I think. May 1. So if you haven't done that, you need to do that. I don't have anything else for that. Visitors wishing to address the board for items that are not on the agenda? Anybody? Okay. New business. The first item is the approval of a contract with CDS Office Technologies to replace the computers in the village police vehicles with 5 semi-rugged Panasonic Toughbook FZ55 computers and docking stations under the Sourcewell Law Enforcement Cooperative Purchasing Contract at a price of $21,655. Chief.
I think you just said it all. I did not budget for those computers for this year, but then we started having problems with them. And then I planned to wait until we accumulated enough money in our new joint emergency telephone and systems board through E911 surcharge funds. But when I got a quote, it came to my attention that the price was about to go up considerably at the beginning of this month. So I am bringing it to the board now. It is on a cooperative purchasing contract. And that includes the docking stations and the Toughbooks. The Toughbooks, the FZ55s are the same ones that Deerfield uses, and Deerfield IT is the administrator for all of the laptops on the network for everybody they dispatch for. So I wanted to get the same ones that they had. Total cost is $21,655 for the docking stations and the computers.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Trustee Raff.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Eastman.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is a discussion of proposed changes to the lighting ordinance. Attorney Cooper.
Yes, if you turn to page 42 of the packet. We had received a very eloquent presentation request to consider changes to the lighting ordinance. The bullet points in this memo attempt to summarize some of those changes. One was to require the use of timers for all exterior and holiday lights, require that decorative and landscape lights all be turned off by 10 p.m., or require motion sensors on all outdoor lights, essentially so that they would not be on except when there's movement. Limit the display periods for holiday lighting with start and end dates, for example, December 1 to January 31 or something like that. And adopt further limitations on shielding, brightness, and intensity of outdoor lights. We attached the current residential outdoor lighting ordinance to the memo so the board could have a look at it. I think just to go back in history and consider some of the challenges we had when we came up with this lighting ordinance back in, I think it was in 2006. This was the first time that the village ever attempted to adopt dark sky type provisions. We found just in our review back then that a lot of people in the village, I don't know the percentage because I don't think we did that kind of count, but we noticed that a lot of our residents had lights mounted in their trees. This is a particular way that people in Riverwoods like to illuminate their landscape. And what we tried to suggest is that going forward from that date, all of the lighting would be downcast rather than up. That's the recommendation of the dark sky program. So in theory, and I don't know how well we've monitored this, outdoor lights on trees are supposed to be shielded and go down and not go up. When you talk about at what point lights should be turned off, the difficulty is you have driveway lighting, you have soft landscape lighting, you have very low type of bollard lighting that people use, maybe they use for their pets. You have motion lights, which are really there as a security light, which are triggered by movement. So The challenge for the board is to figure out if there's a way to get more lights off by saying this kind of light, for example, should go off by 10 p.m., but we understand that maybe your driveway lights will stay on longer because you've gone out to downtown, you're coming back at night or something. So the challenge is what would stay on, what would stay off. I think some of the suggestions for the board will be easier to look at, like just how long will display and holiday lighting be up for. The thing that the staff hasn't really been able to do yet is to evaluate whether the types of bulbs that people are using today, well, this is one of the topics that came up, are actually brighter and different than before. The original intent of the exterior lighting ordinance was that you didn't see the bulb. It had to be shielded. The thing that we learned before we adopted this ordinance was that if you measure the light at the boundary line of a property, the measurement will say it's very low, but it'll still be very annoying. That when you actually see a bulb, the glare is very annoying, even at a low level. And the dark sky is also, whose program we largely try to follow. So lights are supposed to be shielded, meaning they have something around them so you don't look at the bulb. And from the standpoint of the dark sky, the ideal light is only as much as needed, only for the task at hand, shielded and pointing down rather than up, or, now a lot of people do have landscape lighting where they illuminate the wall of a building. From the dark sky perspective, it would be better for them to come down from a soffit than to be lights shining up. But again, there's some low-hanging fruit, and then everything else requires, I think, taking a good survey of what's going on in the village, understanding what our residents have done. We've had a lot of people move in the village in 20 years, and then trying to evaluate these policies in light of what changes you think would be most feasible and advisable.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments? Trustee Trevino?
I mean, the one thing that hit me, as I think this was discussed before, is just the ability to enforce this since the lights are on at night and people don't work at night.
Comment? Anyone on this side? As usual, I have some comments. And the very first comment is probably part of your question. So this is actually in the village code under police regulations. It's not in the building section on zoning or on anything else. So, I was not on the board when this happened in 2006. I wasn't even in the village at the time. I think maybe the board at the time struggled with the same question that Trustee Trevino just came up with. Who's gonna enforce this? Because our staff isn't here over at night, and the only people that are the police. So I think that's something we really have to look at. There's also there's a lot of things in this existing ordinance, and I think part of the reason that it hasn't probably been followed to any great extent that I can tell is that I'm not sure that low voltage lighting, people can do that themselves. And a lot of times they do it without getting a permit. So that creates issues because they don't pay any attention, as opposed to if they got a permit, the building department would say, here's what you have to follow. Just a couple of things in the standards that we currently have. The illumination intensities that are listed in the ordinance for decorative fixtures, it says 1200 lumens. Most people have no idea what a lumen is. 1200 lumens is about a 100-watt incandescent bulb, give or take. A little farther down, it says security lights are 2800 lumens. That's about a 200-watt bulb, give or take, because there isn't a bulb at exactly 1200 or 2800 lumens. It also says no more than 2 security lights on any lot, which I don't have any security lights on my property. Probably shouldn't have said that in public. Sorry, chief. But yes, they do. But if you are concerned about security, you might want to put one on each side of your building, right? Well, there's at least 4 sides to every building. So, I mean, I think there's issues with the current ordinance the way it is written, even without the dark sky issues, and some of the things about motion sensors on outdoor lights that can get a little tricky if they're on a switch by the front door. You may or may not be able to put a timer in that spot. I guess my comment is that we probably need to have some sort of working group. I don't know what you would call it. Because I know that the young lady that came and spoke to us, who's sitting in the back row over there and was very patient during the committee of the whole meeting, is really interested in this. And I think that, you know, I have to talk to the mayor, but I think that, and to Director Witt, but I think the thing to do would be to create a little working group and try and figure out what we want in the ordinance and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and then have to try and figure out how to enforce it, because that's the toughest part. And that's all I have to say as a trustee. Okay. Trustee Smith.
Thank you. I'm very happy that Katya Dickin brought this to our attention. I think it's a well stated, as you know. I think you all know I'm a very big fan of dark skies. Really, I think it's the right thing to do in some format. Some of it, maybe not all of it, but some of it for sure. I do struggle a little bit with holiday lighting, defining those by dates, because, you know, the world's different. Not everybody celebrates the same holidays. And they're not all necessarily just during winter. You know, some people celebrate St. Patrick's Day as an example. But the point, I think, is really well said by Katya, so I thank her very much again. I think what we have to do is, to your point, Trustee Jimerson, whether it's a committee or whether it's part of the sustainability committee, that would seem to me the most logical place, since sustainability is not only about, I mean, it's all about the environment and how we keep the environment good and dark and healthy. So I feel like this should be part of the sustainability team plan. And we need to figure out how to make that happen and figure out what ordinances are right or wrong.
Okay, great. Anyone up here? Trustee Eastman?
I guess I just kind of frame this as, you know, I've used this framing before with the things that, you know, we've tried to develop with the sustainability plan is, what are the 1 or 2 things that if, you know, we want to comply with dark skies, like if we wanted to say these are the top 1 or 2 or 3 things that would give us the most bang for the buck, right? And we don't have a ton of time initially to, you know, really do a deep dive, like which of these things are the, you know, would give us the biggest impact, right? And would also be enforceable, right? I mean, if it's not enforceable, then it just, you're doing it, you know, performatively. So I guess that would be the one thing I would ask, that whatever group looks at it kind of starts with that perspective and then does a little bit deeper dive.
Okay, great. Anyone else? Okay. Did you want to say anything? Okay. Thank you for your work on that. Obviously, it's brought discussion to the board, so. Okay, we don't have any other new business, any old business that we have to discuss? Okay. Committee reports, Finance, Trustee Clayton.
All I have tonight is that I gave you that the Finance Committee is now meeting monthly. And we talked a little bit last meeting about all the things that were on the agenda. Specifically coming up at the next Finance Committee meeting is a meeting with some people who are going to propose doing our banking rather than Chase, and that's going to happen in a week or so. So that's this Finance Committee meeting, and we'll have more to report next month.
Okay, thank you. Legal and legislation, trustee Eastman.
I'll just keep it brief since we talked a little bit about the Saunders Road issue when Director Witt gave his discussion earlier. But basically, we've worked and reached out to IML on that issue, as well as local state Senate state Senate and state rep officials. And I do not know if that was part of what finally gave us an update or whether it was just fortuitous timing. But if this proceeds in a different way, I think it was Representative Morgan's office, Attorney Hoover had discussions with. So I think if this doesn't develop in a productive way, we still have other ways to, reach out to the appropriate officials to get things moving. But this was sort of unexpected this afternoon, and hopefully that moves things on the right path. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Building and infrastructure, that's me. The building report is in the packet. We are year to date, our construction value is almost $3.5 million, which has exceeded the last 2 years prior. So the building department is busy. They're constantly reviewing drawings, and the drawings that are coming in are, they're not small. There's like 15 permits that were almost $2 million this month. So that gives you the size of the permits are huge, and they take a long time to go through, and Director Witt and George do most of that. They do all that review. And
just to add on to that comment, Orphans of the Storm is in for permit. That set of drawings was over 130 pages long. Most of the things we look at are 5 or 6. And we have Capital One, who's come in for their second round of renovations, and that's probably another 120 pages as well, too. So you're right, the projects are getting more intense, and some of the things that we're preparing to go in front of Plan Commission as well as ZBA add to all of that.
so they're working their tails off, so appreciate that. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, trustee Raff.
Just a question on your report. It says permits for March 2025. Should that be 2026?
Yes, that should be for, yeah. No, that's the month of March in 2025. We always compare this month, which is the top.
So total permits is.
So this month we had 1,970,000, and last year in March we had 843. So that's.
So total permits is this year, and then March. Okay, got it.
Great. Okay, any other questions? Land use, trustee Raff.
I have nothing new to report at this time.
Thank you. Sustainability and community services, trustee Smith.
Sure. So we've been getting biweekly updates from Director Vasquez in terms of the efforts in not only a sustainability coordinator. They've met with a few different organizations, or maybe the second one is still coming forward. We think we may have a path. We're looking at doing an interview of the person from HR Green, which is Zimmerman's new firm. So they've got somebody, and then we're looking at MGT as well. So we're looking forward to getting that sustainability coordinator on board. As we talked about during the budgets, we've got some room in the budget for the sustainability coordinator, so we're kind of good to go there. And then Dana has been working on the website to have a sustainability tab. So we've made some nice progress, not as fast as we probably all hoped, but we've made some progress. And then the sustainability team, or committee, is also interested in being involved in that interview process of those candidates. So we'll see, more to come. And then the last thing was Director Vasquez has really been doing a great job on this. He's also had a conversation with Lake Forest about what they were doing. So just trying to get municipal insight from our peers, or at least our neighbors, to understand where we could, what we could do and what we could do better. So that's all I had on sustainability. Any questions on sustainability? No. Then in terms of community services, we did have a suggestion for a open poetry mic at Village Hall on, I think it was one Sunday a month. So that's being worked through staff to see if that's viable and just a way to, once again, create engagement within the community.
Any questions for Trustee Smith? No? Thank you. Communications, Trustee Trevino.
Yes, I wanted to share some updates from the demographic makeup of the focus groups that we just did. So everyone knows who all came in, who we spoke with, some of the particulars. We actually had an even split agenda, so 50-50, 16 of each. Ages ranged from 30s up to 80s. And we had the most, I'd say, between the 40s and the 70s. So the most was there. I specifically over-recruited with the help of Thorngate and one other neighborhood to get families with kids at home. So we had 11 respondents, which were 34%. Unfortunately, a few had to drop off because of school events, but that always happens. Of the parents who came in, they had children. 33% of the kids were 10 and under. 52% were between 11 and 20. And then there were a few, about 14% that are 21 to 26, but they're in the midst of finishing college and or moving out.
They hope. They're living in the basement right now.
Yes. The next thing is, one second, I'm sorry. My alarm's going on. Okay. We also looked at how long had people been in the village and tried to get a mix there. So we had, I'll just give you the large percentages, 0 to 5 years, 22%, 6 to 10, 19. So we got a good representation of, quote, newer residents. And then we had 16%, 21 to 30, 34% over 31. And the winner of the longest that was interviewed was 55 years in the village. And then last, we got a good mix of neighborhoods. Like I said, I got some wonderful help with some folks bringing people in, but we had, so again, out of 32 people, 5 out of Thorngate, 12 out of what they call Deer South of Vernon Woods, Meadow Lake, and they call it the Forest, 8, Highwood Oaks, 3, the Country Club, 2, Kennelwood Indian Trails, 2, but we were not able to get anyone from Duffy Woods. In addition, I have also interviewed a residential realtor to gain their perspective on who comes here and what sells. And one of the things they stated when I told her that we were looking at the different neighborhoods, and she said, let me guess, Duffy Woods. You probably didn't get a lot. And I said, yeah, I was trying to figure out why. And she said, well, the school systems are Bannockburn or Lincolnshire. And so their mindset is they're dealing with things in those suburbs. So she was not surprised to see that we didn't get a whole lot there. I will say that next week I am meeting with a commercial real estate person. So we're getting both sides to see what it is that they look for. In terms of timing, I don't have specifics of when the survey would go out. I'm in the midst now of just starting the analysis. So downloading everything and then the coding the groups were 2 hours long, so when you code, it's at least 2 hours of worth of work. And I'm very happy to say that folks were so engaged that many of them stayed a lot longer because they said they felt they had a forum to be heard and they had so many ideas that they were willing to stay longer. And I was not going to stop what they wanted to do. So I thought that was great. Several folks came in with, in terms of engagement, lists of things to discuss. And it was not complain. It was, I have some concerns, or can we discuss this X, Y, or Z? They had a lot of really good ideas. So the analysis has started. It's going to be a little while. I will say you don't want to launch something in the summer. Even if you send it out on the email or put it on the website with codes and stuff, you're just not going to get the response. So we're probably going to look at early fall. I did get from this group 2 people who offered to help on the quantitative end, and that's what they do for a living. One does it a second one does it in pharmaceuticals, and the next one does it for both food service and retail type of brands. So business to business and commercial to business. So we're going to be able to pick some time up there. We're going to be meeting with them and kind of laying this stuff out. So as the analysis is done, it's done in a way that will help them do their end quicker. So that's great to have groups and then have people say, what can I do to help? Oh, and here's what I do for a living. So I would say the survey, I'm guessing early fall is my best guess. But as we scrub it further, I mean, they just got back to me and said, you know, we said we wanted to do this. We're serious. Because I wrote back and said, if you're serious, please let me know. So that is where we're at. My next step, again, is the coding, analyzing the data and the patterns. And then this then is the key input that goes into the survey. And then I need to then meet with this team to share with them kind of where we're at. So, and everything will be done against the plan that was done before, against that other survey. So following that survey and the results, that's when the strategic plan would start.
Okay, great. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Board comments. Anybody have any additional comments? Going once? Okay. We have no reason to go into executive session. And the next Board of Trustees regular meeting will be April 21st, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. right here. And I need a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.